This is guaranteed to change your mind about Xbox's next console. One of Xbox's biggest franchises might be going to PlayStation after all. What is up, y'all? I am Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we get on and we talk about Xbox stuff. The latest news, rumors, games, accessories, pretty much anything I want to talk about as long as it's about Xbox in some way. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Black Friday steal that has me thinking about Xbox's next-gen hardware and some shocking news surrounding one of Xbox's most beloved franchises. Okay, I get it. People are just settling in with their Xbox Series X or S. We're only a couple of years removed from the great console shortage at the beginning of this generation. But your boy Ray is always thinking ahead. Now, it's no secret that Microsoft is working on new Xbox consoles. And yes, over the past few videos, we have talked a lot about them. They're making a handheld and they're making some sort of successor to the Series X. All this talk about the Xbox handheld specifically got me really excited. I think it's a really cool idea. And I decided, you know what? I cannot wait anymore. Phil Spencer said himself that we're a few years out from the Xbox handheld release. And I saw this killer deal at Best Buy for an ROG Ally with a Z1 Extreme processor for $350. Sure, yes, it was open box, and yes, I did have to drive 20 miles to go pick it up from a specific Best Buy, but it was a steal. They said there was minor scratches, it was in pretty good condition, but there were scratches. I couldn't find a single scratch on this thing. So I won, right? Because I got this killer deal, I got this Xbox handheld, right? Wrong. This thing, the ROG Ally, it's awesome, but it made me want a first-party Xbox handheld even more. Let me explain. Let's start off with the good stuff. First of all, and this might seem obvious, but it is awesome having a way to natively play Xbox games on the go or on a handheld. Right now, I only have 2 games loaded on it, Metaphor RE Fantasio and Stalker 2. Mostly over the past couple days, I've been using it to play Metaphor. Now, previous to this, I had been playing Metaphor and really enjoying it on my Series X and TV. But every now and then, I would stream it via remote play from my console to my iPad. And there were times where I was like, yep, this is pretty good. And other times I was like, ooh, not so much. Especially the most recent time I used remote play for it. It was a struggle. I was making my way through the Dragon God's Temple, and I was just getting ambushed every 2 seconds because the controls were laggy. I was getting all this artifacting and lag. So going from that to playing it on something like the ROG Ally, it was night and day. The controls felt awesome and responsive. And yeah, I know that Metaphor is not the most demanding game ever, but right out the box, it was performing super well on the ROG Ally. It looked great, and I didn't even do any tweaks in Armory Crate. I thought it looked really good on that screen too. I know it's not as good as the ROG Ally X, but the colors, especially in the menu for Metaphor, were super vibrant, colorful, everything I needed. But there were so many other parts about it that just inflamed my desire for a first-party Xbox handheld. See, I was under the impression that this was a handheld gaming device. That's the whole reason why I picked it up. Before I actually owned one, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a handheld device that can run Windows, that gives you access to the PC Xbox app. You can play Xbox games on it, therefore, it is an Xbox. That's literally the definition now put forth by Microsoft. And yes, it kinda is and it kinda isn't. See, my previous experience with the ROG Ally was its very first iteration. My buddy Jimmy, who runs a handheld gaming channel called Deck Ready, he got sent one of these, and after he was done setting it up, tweaking it, he let me check it out, and I thought it was really cool. But that's the thing, I got to check it out once he already did all the work. I had a much different experience when I bought one of my own and had to start from scratch. Because out the box, Asus treats this like you're operating on a Windows laptop or desktop, making the setup a little bit weird. For example, if you use another gaming handheld like the Nintendo Switch, you can use the controllers to interact with everything that you see on the screen, including the keyboard. That's not the case with the ROG Ally. There are some instances where I can navigate over to something, click A on the gamepad, and it'll open up the application. Other times, not so much. I either have to use the touchscreen or I use the right stick as my cursor and click. And if a virtual keyboard ever pops up, then God help you, because you cannot use the gamepad for that. You either have to type it in with your fingers like a touchscreen, use your cursor, or plug in a keyboard. And just like other Windows devices, during the setup for this, they're going to ask you a billion times if you want Microsoft Office. I didn't buy this for Microsoft Office, I bought this for games. Stop asking. Like when you buy a video game console, whether it's a Series S, X, PS5, whatever, yeah, there's a little bit of setups and updates involved, but the chances are pretty high that you'll be able to plug it in, start playing a game like 10-15 minutes later. With the ROG Ally, that is not the case. They're like, here, let's hit you with a couple of updates that are going to take like an hour and a half. Here, let's have you sign into your Microsoft account a billion times and have you authenticated on other devices. It's like, when do I get to actually play the games, which is what I bought this for? That's the question I kept asking myself when I was setting this thing up. When do I play the game? I bought this for gaming, and out of the box, there's not even a shortcut for the Windows game bar. You think if you're going to sell a Windows gaming handheld, you would have a separate button for that at least. It felt like a slog too to turn compact mode on for the game bar. Then once I got through all of that, finally I can get to the Xbox PC app, I'm signed in, I finally got to the Xbox part. But honestly, the Xbox stuff on this, especially with the UI, it felt a little disjointed. So the Xbox PC app on the ROG Ally is just what you would see on a regular PC. There's no compact mode, no big picture mode like you would find on Steam. And for the most part, it works fine, except sometimes like I lose my cursor and I got to scroll over to the right and then up before I can get to the icons on the top left. I'm also wondering why there's a separate thing in the Armory Crate app for Xbox cloud gaming. I thought we were past dividing up the Xbox experience in 2024. I was just celebrating a couple of videos ago that they were finally merging the Game Pass and the Xbox app on iOS and Android. A couple of other things I found weird. Why are they asking me if I want to sign up for PC Game Pass? I'm already signed in to my Microsoft account, signed in on the Xbox app. I have Game Pass Ultimate. Stop trying to push PC Game Pass on me, man. I also thought this pop-up was a little strange. Hey, do you want this device to be the one that you play games offline for? I was like, okay, I'll make this one the offline console because it's a handheld, that makes sense. But I wasn't aware that across all of my devices that can access Xbox games, that only one of them can do so offline. But I get it, this is not a handheld Xbox, this is a handheld gaming PC. And once I set everything up, the flexibility was nice. And the Armory Crate app made it really easy to switch between launchers. But the whole experience makes me want a dedicated Xbox handheld OS, some sort of shrunken down, more accessible version of what we find on our Xbox consoles. Up until this point, I was like, well, would Microsoft even want to release a handheld, considering that they could just put Xbox games on the ROG Ally or other Windows gaming devices? And now I'm like, no. They need to put one out because they need to have some sort of Xbox OS. That is going to be the key differentiator for Xbox, their X factor, if you will. But I still think it would be really cool if they maintained some of the flexibility that the ROG Ally has. Maybe if they can find a way to sideload different operating systems, like you have the Xbox OS, and then you shut it down, reboot it up, it's the Steam OS. Even though I have the ROG Ally, and I'm really loving it so far, if Xbox came out and they were like, here is a straight up portable Xbox, I would go and buy that for sure. Not only did this whole saga make me excited about an eventual Xbox handheld, it reaffirmed my belief that there will always be a place, a need for video game consoles. There's been a lot of talk over the past couple of years of, oh, the cost of making hardware. The most popular games are multi-platform anyway, so why should people bother? But there's something to be said about the straightforward nature of a gaming console, the ease of use that it offers compared to gaming on a PC. I went into this expecting the ROG Ally to have the pick up and play nature that a console would. When you buy an Xbox, whether it's the Series X or the Series S, sure, there are other settings that you can mess around with, there are different ways that you can optimize it, but at the end of the day, you plug it into power, you plug it into the TV, you download a game, you put a disc in, and that's it. Part of me wished that the ROG Ally had that simple pick up and play nature to it. At the end of the day, it wasn't all that bad because I'm familiar with PC gaming, I'm familiar with Windows, but there's a whole market of people that would prefer the simplistic nature of a gaming console. And again, it is cool having that flexibility, being able to load up Steam, being able to load up emulators, and whenever I want to, being able to make a PowerPoint or go on Microsoft Edge. Hopefully going forward, Microsoft can appeal to both sides of the market. Give us a handheld, a new console that has the straightforward nature that we've seen in Xboxes up until this point, but give us room to do some cool stuff with it, like load up other launchers. But perhaps it would be in Xbox's best interest to focus on creating a more powerful Xbox console, because apparently the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5 are not powerful enough. That's according to Paradox, who is the studio behind City Skylines 2. They came out and said they have no updates on the console version of their game because they're currently experiencing both simulation issues and graphics issues, which become noticeable when players take certain actions that cause frame rate drops or memory overload. These issues are particularly challenging due to the hardware limitations of consoles. They go on to say that City Skylines 2 is playable on consoles, but they have to significantly downgrade the graphics and the features. And honestly, I cannot believe what I'm hearing because these are the guys behind City Skylines 2. Let's go ahead, go on over to their Steam page and take a look at how it's performing on PC. Oh, that's right. It seems like they can't even get it figured out on PC, and yet they're turning around and saying, yeah, sorry, due to the hardware limitations of the current Gen 9 consoles, we can't get our game out. We can't ship our game. No, this is just the latest saga in a long history of developers and fans blaming home consoles like the Xbox, like PlayStation, like Nintendo for holding back what games could be. I remember there was a whole thing when The Witcher 3 came out. People were saying, oh, this doesn't look anything like what they showed off at E3 a couple of years ago. What happened? Then CD Projekt Red came out and they were like, yeah, we did have to downgrade some things a little bit, but that's what we had to do because, well, consoles are such a huge market, and that's what made The Witcher 3 such a huge success. I'm not saying there isn't any truth in that. Sure, if consoles didn't exist, I'm sure games could be a lot crazier, but developers, publishers, they would also make a lot less money, and so many other parts about the gaming industry would just suck. No, my issue with this really is the people who are saying this. It's just funny to me. In other game news, Xbox fans need to prepare themselves this month, because one of Xbox's best games over the past couple of decades is being delisted. You won't be able to buy it anymore. You'll be able to play it, but you won't be able to buy it on the Microsoft storefront anymore, which means that physical copies, I mean, you can still buy those, but they're going to shoot through the roof in terms of price. I'm talking about Forza Horizon 4. Now, this is something I've talked about on the channel before, but it was a couple months back, and at the time I was like, well, this is happening, but you have time because they're not delisting it until December 2024, and boom, we're in December 2024. It's crazy. And obviously, it's going to be leaving Game Pass this month as well. They are offering a super awesome discount for Forza Horizon 4 for anyone who wants to keep this game for life. It's also not the only game that's being delisted this month on Xbox. There's over like 20 other games that are joining it as well. But for Forza Horizon 4, that stings. Like, that game is still popular. Even with the release of Forza Horizon 5, it still maintained a really healthy player population. So no matter how you look at it, it just kind of sucks. I mean, it's not nearly as bad as something like, I don't know, Concord, where they delisted the game and you can't even play it anymore. Phil Spencer kind of touched on this in a recent interview. He was like, I don't really want to do licensed games anymore. I want to focus on our own IPs because sometimes they can be a pain in the ass. He specifically mentioned racing games like Forza. And that's the whole reason why this is being delisted, apparently. They don't want to pay the licensing for certain car likenesses and music. I wish there was another way, but hey, it's slightly better than seeing Forza Horizon 4 being ported over to PlayStation 5, which is apparently what they're trying to do with Forza Horizon 5. There have long been rumors that Forza Horizon 5 was going to have a PlayStation 5 version at some point. Some people said they were going to announce it at the Tokyo Game Show, at the Xbox Showcase. And of course, we've been hearing all of this stuff from Xbox themselves that, oh no, there's no red lines, there's no franchises that are off limits when it comes to a PlayStation 5 port. But when it comes to the 5th iteration of Forza Horizon, we haven't seen any movement on that. But just because we haven't heard anything about it doesn't mean they aren't preparing to launch this franchise on PlayStation. Because according to our old friend Ixtasis, he said that there is a PlayStation 5 version of Forza Horizon 5 ready, they just delayed it. He says it will arrive. I don't know when, but it will arrive. Now, if you've been watching the channel, y'all know me. I don't think this is an amazing idea on Microsoft's part. It's one of the biggest things that I disagree with that they're doing right now. The FH franchise especially, I mean, that's one of Xbox's most consistent exclusives. I don't know why they would want to give that up. Sure, they can make more money by selling more copies on PlayStation, whatever. I don't know, man. It just seems wrong. Logically, sure, I can see it, but emotionally, I'm like, no, I'm out. Not to say there wouldn't be a market for Forza Horizon on PlayStation. No, I'm sure they would really enjoy it. But it's just such a big departure from the other game series that they've made multi-platform up to this point. Sea of Thieves, I can live with a PlayStation 5 version. The other games, I don't really care. But the big guns like Forza, Halo, Gears, I'm like, no, please just keep that Xbox exclusive. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Help me on my journey to 200,000 subs. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.